If you're listening to this, there's probably someone you should have walked away from months ago, but you didn't. I could almost see the scene. Maybe you're sitting in your car, the engine off, just watching the rain on the windshield because you don't want to go inside and be alone with your thoughts. Or maybe you're lying in bed, the blue light of your phone illuminating your face at 2 a.m., scrolling back through messages from 3 weeks ago, trying to find the exact moment the temperature changed. You're looking for a why. You're looking for the glitch in the system that turned a person who once looked at you like you were the sun into a person who now treats you like a telemarketer. I know exactly why you stayed, and I'm not here to judge you for it. I'm here because I've spent my life studying the way power works, how people are governed, and why we often choose a beautiful tyranny over a boring freedom. You stayed because you're an investor. You've put so much emotional capital into this person, your time, your tears, your late-night prayers, that walking away feels like admitting bankruptcy. You keep thinking, if I just put in 10% more effort, I'll finally see a return. But you aren't just waiting for them to change. You're waiting for a version of them that was never real to begin with. You're in love with a ghost, a shadow of a person who showed up for 2 weeks, blew your mind, and then retreated behind a wall of, "I'm just not ready," or "it's complicated." Think about the physical weight of this. The way your chest feels tight when you see their name on a screen, or worse, when you don't see it. The way you've become a detective in your own life, analyzing the likes on their Instagram or the timing of their red receipts as if they were coded diplomatic cables. It's exhausting, isn't it? Being the only one keeping the fire lit while the other person is standing outside in the rain, refusing to come in. What I'm about to tell you, it's not what you expect. People have been watching this dynamic play out for thousands of years. Long before there were apps, there was a cold, calculated logic to how human beings interact when one person wants security and the other person wants to remain a sovereign of one. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're too much or too needy. In fact, it's usually the strongest, most capable women who fall into this trap. Why? Because you're used to winning. You're used to solving problems. You see this man as a project, a challenge, or a puzzle to be solved. But you can't govern a person who doesn't want to be part of the state. You can't build a house on land that the owner refuses to sell you. Today, I'm giving you what they never taught you in school or in those glossy magazines. I'm going to show you the internal mechanics of your own heart and why it's been sabotaging your peace in favor of a war you can't win. First, let me show you what they're hiding from you. Think about the last time they actually pulled you close. That one night where they finally opened up about their childhood, or that weekend where they treated you like the only woman in the world. It felt like a breakthrough, didn't it? You thought, finally, he's letting me in. The wall is down. And then, 48 hours later, the wall went back up, even higher than before. The texts became one-word answers. The plans became maybe. The chill returned. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You aren't fighting for love. You're fighting for a position in a hierarchy you didn't even know existed. In the real world of power and influence, there is a brutal rule. The person who cares the least always has the most control. By being unavailable, they aren't being hurt or misunderstood. They're declaring themselves a scarce resource. Think about it. Why is gold valuable? It's not because you can eat it or stay warm with it. It's valuable purely because there isn't much of it. When someone withholds their affection, your brain stops seeing them as a flawed human being and starts seeing them as a prize. The less they give, the more valuable the win feels like. You're essentially gambling with your own heart. Every time they give you a tiny bit of attention, a breadcrumb, it's like a slot machine hitting a small jackpot. It's just enough dopamine to keep you at the table, losing your time and your sanity, hoping for the big payout that is never coming.
We see this in every structure of history. The leader who stays distant to maintain an aura of importance. If they were always available, if they were always kind, they'd be common. By staying out of reach, they force you to do all the work. They force you to provide the emotional labor, the planning, the constant checking in. You think you're being a supportive partner, but let's look at the facts. You are providing the security, the validation, and the intimacy, while they provide what? Their occasional presence? That's not a partnership. That's a lopsided treaty where one side pays all the tribute and the other side provides nothing but vague promises. And here's the part that really stings. You're not even falling for him. You're falling for the version of yourself you think you'll become once you finally win him over. You think that if you can crack the code of an emotionally unavailable man, it'll prove you're the most special woman in the world. You think, if I'm the one who finally makes him want to settle down, then I must be extraordinary. It's the ultimate validation. But while you're busy trying to fix his broken parts, he's actually using your empathy as a tether. He likes having you there. He likes the attention. He just doesn't want the responsibility. He wants the benefits of the state without paying any of the taxes of commitment. He's not a broken soul you need to rescue. In the cold language of human nature, he's a person who has realized that as long as he stays unavailable, you will keep trying harder. Why would he change a system that gives him everything for free? Say this with me, out loud. Let it vibrate in your chest. My attention is a gift, not a negotiation. But here's where it gets worse, because it's not just about his distance. It's about the chemical storm he's brewing inside your own head. Because the mystery he's projecting, it's a mask for something much darker. Stop. Everything I just said? That's only half true. You've been told that you're a giver and they're a taker. You've been told you're just too empathetic for this cruel world. But let's get real for a second. You aren't just a victim of their unavailability. You are an active participant in it. You are addicted to the chaos. Why is it that the nice guy, the one who answers your texts in 5 minutes, the one who tells you you're beautiful and means it, the one who is actually there, feels boring to you? Why does that feel low stakes or like there's no spark? It's because you've been conditioned to mistake anxiety for chemistry. When your heart races because you don't know if they'll call, that isn't butterflies. That is your nervous system screaming that you are in a state of high alert. It's a fight or flight response. But you've romanticized that danger into a love story. You've convinced yourself that true love has to be a struggle. If it isn't hard, if it isn't hurting, it must not be real. That is a lie. And it's a lie that is keeping you broke. You think you're seeking intimacy. You're actually seeking a distraction. Think about it this way. If you chose someone who was actually available, you'd have to be vulnerable too. You'd have to show up, be seen, and deal with the actual boring daily work of a real relationship. But as long as you're chasing someone who's running away, you never have to actually look at yourself. It's the perfect shield. You stay safe in the pursuit because you know, deep down, the finish line doesn't exist. You can blame the failure on his issues or his trauma instead of facing your own fear of being truly known by someone who isn't going anywhere. You've accepted a deal where you do 100% of the work for 10% of the reward. You are living in a state of war where life is solitary, poor, and short on joy. You've signed a contract with a ghost, and you're wondering why the house is cold. Let's look at the mystery you find so attractive. What is it, really? Usually, mystery is just a lack of substance. It's a void that you fill with your own imagination. You imagine he's deep, or troubled, or misunderstood. But most of the time, he's just not that into the work of a relationship. He's not a mystery to be solved. He's a person showing you exactly who he is by what he isn't doing. Everything you've been told about unconditional love in this context, it's backwards. Love should have conditions. In any healthy state, the social contract says, I give you my loyalty, and in return, you provide security and presence. If one side stops providing, the contract is void. But you're still honoring a contract that the other person threw in the trash months ago. Repeat after me. I am done chasing what should be given freely. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because there's one thing about how we protect our own peace that changes everything, and it's about to make you very powerful. Here is what actually works. Here is why the cycle stops today. Real power, the kind that actually changes the trajectory of your life, isn't about being mysterious or playing hard to get. It's not about waiting 3 hours to text back so you look busy or unbothered. That's just more acting. That's just you trying to be unavailable to win an unavailable man. It's a race to the bottom. Real power is the ability to walk away from a deal that no longer serves you. Think about how any healthy system stays alive. It's not by one person having all the control while the other begs for scraps. It's through boundaries. It's through a separation of powers within yourself. You have to have a part of you that acts as a guardian, a part of you that says, I like this person, but I love my peace more. When you start setting boundaries, real ones, not threats you don't keep, you aren't being mean. You aren't being difficult. You're being a leader. You're telling the world exactly what the cost of entry is to be in your presence. If they can't afford that cost, if they can't pay in consistency, respect, and emotional presence, you don't lower the price. You don't put your heart on clearance. You let them shop elsewhere. You came here feeling like you were stuck in a loop you couldn't control. You felt like you were falling for something you couldn't stop. Now you see the truth. You weren't falling, you were investing in a fantasy. The intensity you felt wasn't love, it was the adrenaline of the gamble. And you are far too valuable to spend your life at a slot machine that never pays out. The moment you stop trying to unlock them is the moment you become free. Think about the weight that is lifting off your shoulders right now. You don't have to fix anyone today. You don't have to decode a text message. You don't have to wonder if you're enough. You are the sovereign of your own life. You aren't losing a great love. You're losing a heavy weight. You're clearing the clutter of a dead-end relationship to make room for someone who doesn't make you feel like you have to audition for their affection. You've shifted. You can feel it in your chest, can't you? That slight release of tension. The person you were at the start of this conversation believed that their silence was a reflection of your worth. The person you are now knows that their silence is just a lack of character on their part. And you have much better things to listen to than someone else's silence. If this shifted something in you, if you felt that click of recognition, this isn't meant to stay hidden. Share this with one woman you know who is currently staring at a silent phone, wondering what she did wrong. Like it if it resonated, subscribe because there's more you need to know about how to take your power back and build a life that feels like a sanctuary, not a battlefield. The strongest position you can ever hold is being perfectly okay with being alone. Because when you don't need them to validate you, they lose the only weapon they ever had. Build your own kingdom first. Everyone else is just a guest.